so we moved to Oconto Falls. And I think the reason we moved to Oconto Falls was there was a physician in Oconto Falls who was called Dr. Seifert. And I think he was like went to medical school the same time my dad did, so they knew each other. And Dr. Seifert talked my dad, and well, he convinced my dad into moving to Oconto Falls because they needed a surgeon there. So he moved to Oconto. So we moved to Oconto Falls, and so we went to. There was a Catholic church there called St. Anthony's Catholic Church, and they had a grade school. I think so. I finished going to Catholic school at that school, and my grade was the last grade to graduate from there, and then I think they cut it back to like 5th grade or something. It's still there. And they, at some point, they demolished the church and built a new church there.
That's right.
So, yeah, in Oconto Falls, I went into Scouts again. So we did scouting stuff, and
Chess club.
in high school, the English teacher started a chess club, so I went into the chess club.
You played football.
I tried different sports. I tried wrestling, track, football. After the chess club started, I just did chess. And initially we lived at a house on Franklin Street, which was in the main part of the city. Then my parents built a house on the river, which is where it currently is. At that time, it might have been, I don't know, that area was under development, and it was a road. The road past my parents' house goes to a gravel pit, which I think has since shut down and probably has been developed into housing.
There's more houses there now.
Because it's on the Oconto River. Yeah. So it was a small town, about 2,000 people. It was, at that time, it was a paper mill town.
So were the small town folks ready for these rabble-rousing big city kids? Or was it not quite like that?
I don't know. I think some of my brothers did get into trouble. But it was a different, I mean, population about 2,000. It was a small town, and but the school district covered a big area, and I think most of the people in the school were like from farms. And it was, a rural setting. But it was, I think, academically the school was pretty good.
Do you remember anything you learned? The high school, I guess?
Yeah, the high
Oconto
school.
Falls High School.
Well, they had a math curriculum. So I never had calculus, but they had more in-depth, like algebra, geometry, and something they called advanced math or something, but they didn't really they didn't get into calculus, which actually was okay, but we went into the other aspects of math pretty in depth. It also had science, so it did physics and something called IPS introduction. It was like a chemistry class, and we had English. We had college. I think they call it college prep English. Had social studies. A thing that I liked is they had shop classes, so I took woodworking and welding and small machine or small engine class, because most of the kids were farmers, so they needed to know that stuff. And drafting, we had drafting class. They had business classes. I didn't take any of those, and they had art classes. I remember I took a debate class there. Yeah, so it was pretty good, I think, for the size of town.
You stay there.
And then I remember, well, there was a movie theater there, so we would often go to see movies at the theater. And they had a small main street. They had a grocery store. Wits. We knew the name of the people that owned it were called Wits. We knew their kids, and I never worked there. I think Bob might have worked there, but I know, like, next year we're gonna visit Mike McGuan, who worked at Wits, but his father worked at the Scott Paper Mill, but eventually the Scott Paper Mill shut down, and they moved to Maine. But I think the paper mill's still running. It's just under it's owned by a different, like a foreign company or something. And Oconto Falls is named after the river, which had a waterfall, but the waterfall was covered up by a hydroelectric dam.